Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing after controversial fight in Texas. Now, why, you may ask? Now, I didn't know this, okay?
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us that love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy. And we didn't like what we saw last.
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have officially been blacklisted from future boxing events, and honestly, it's no surprise. Together, they've done more damage to the integrity of boxing than most promoters ever could. Now they're paying the price in the harshest court of all, public opinion. Let's break down how this happened.
Last Friday's big ringside fight could be heading to court. A Florida man has filed a $50 million lawsuit against Netflix claiming breach of contract.
Remember those leaked training clips of Mike Tyson? The ones where he looked unstoppable, even busting his coach's lip during sparring? At the time, they seemed to confirm that Tyson still had the raw power to dominate in the ring. Sadly, it turns out those clips were all part of an elaborate plan to convince fans that Mike was still in his prime. And why? Because the entire fight was scripted. Yes, a script.
Many are upset over the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, with some people claiming that it was rigged because many people bet a lot of money and they lost a lot of money. Allegedly, there's this script that got leaked showing how the fight was supposed to go down between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
This document, which recently leaked on X, formerly Twitter, laid out the fight round by round, and it's gone viral. Let's see how accurate it was. The opening bell rings, and Tyson comes out looking like his old self. His signature head movement and aggressive style are on full display, creating the illusion of a competitive fight. Millions tuned in expecting a real battle, but instead they got a scripted spectacle.
In breaking news, streaming giant Netflix is being issued a class action in relation to the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. TMZ reports the lawsuit is over streaming issues and a breach of contract.
Jake's antics in the ring weren't shocking. He's always treated boxing like a sideshow. But Mike Tyson? He was supposed to be the beacon of respect for the sport. Instead, he joined Jake in tarnishing boxing's legacy. Was it worth it? Was it worth shattering the trust of fans who believed in the sport and admired Mike Tyson? The signs were there. I'll admit I've doubted Mike before. Back when he fought Roy Jones Jr., I begged him not to do it. I told him he was too old, and I didn't want to see him get hurt. I even got him a gig on Shark Week to keep him out of the ring. But Mike was determined. He told me, I've been fighting since I was 12. He's right, but there's a difference between being tough and making decisions that hurt the sport and your legacy.
Tyson 7 of 34, 18%. So Tyson is averaging more punches than he did in that fight with McBride and in the exhibition against Roy Jones, where he averaged 24 punches around.
Like I said, I don't like the fact that they keep messing with that mouthpiece.
Oh, left hook, triple left hook by Paul. He wobbled Tyson.
Mike's hurt.
Tyson's participation in this scripted fight wasn't just disappointing. It was a betrayal. Fans expected him to bring honor back to boxing, not to sell out for a paycheck. And Jake Paul, well, Jake's always been about theatrics. His focus has never been on boxing as a sport, but as a platform for fame and money. Together, they created a mockery of boxing, and now they're both facing the consequences. People are furious. Some placed large bets on the fight and lost significant amounts of money. Reports have even suggested that Jake bribed Mike to ensure the fight followed the pre-planned script. And while these allegations are still being debated, the damage to their reputations is already done.
Paul just got Netflix sued. People got a big problem with this stream cut now.
Jake and Mike have been unofficially blacklisted from major boxing organizations. While this isn't a formal ban, boxing doesn't have a single governing body. It means promoters and venues are refusing to work with them. For Jake, this marks the end of a career that never truly began. He's been cherry-picking opponents from the start. NBA players, retired MMA fighters, and others far from their prime. Jake has avoided real competition because he knows it would expose his lack of skill. Fame has always been his priority, not the sport itself. Now, even his most loyal fans are turning against him. Mike's betrayal hurts more. This was a man who symbolized resilience and dedication, but recent financial struggles seem to have driven him to desperation. Instead of leaning on his legendary status to inspire, he chose to participate in a scripted fight. Fans understand times are tough, but selling out the sport? That's unforgivable. Mike didn't just lose the fight, he lost the respect of millions. The alleged script, as covered by outlets like World Star Hip Hop, is hard to ignore. It describes a fight that's more theater than sport, with every move planned to maximize profit.
Can't fight like 2 days in a row.
Wasn't the Tyson Jake fight, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Jake's reputation as a celebrity boxer, a YouTuber dabbling in the ring, has now taken a massive hit. And Mike, his legacy, once untouchable, is now in question. This fight and its fallout highlights a larger issue in boxing, the balance between tradition and entertainment. Jake and Mike have always operated outside the traditional boxing hierarchy. Jake's company, Most Valuable Promotions, gives him control over his fights, bypassing big promoters like Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn. Mike, meanwhile, is bigger than the sport itself. He doesn't need boxing, but boxing still needs him. Their independence makes them threats to the establishment, but instead of revolutionizing the sport, they exploited it.
I don't know what people expected. You know, Mike's almost 60 years old. He's Mike Tyson, but he's 60 years old. And he knew that Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. So you knew what you were going to get.
Critics argue that their antics undermine boxing's credibility, though some fans see them as trailblazers. Jake and Mike are undeniably huge revenue generators. Jake's fights have brought in $75 million in pay-per-view sales, and Tyson's exhibitions remain top sellers. Yet the industry seems more concerned with preserving tradition than embracing these changes. For now, it looks like Jake and Mike are on their own. Jake has hinted at a move to MMA, possibly fighting under the Professional Fighters League, PFL. Mike, meanwhile, continues to expand his cannabis brand and remains a cultural icon. They've built empires that extend far beyond boxing, so being blacklisted might not hurt them as much as it would traditional fighters. Ironically, this blacklisting could work in their favor. It reinforces their image as outsiders who refuse to play by the rules. Love them or hate them, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have proven one thing: boxing is far more interesting when they're involved. The sports establishment clings to tradition, but these two disruptors are carving out a future that's louder, messier, and undeniably entertaining. While their actions have left many fans disillusioned, they've also sparked conversations about what boxing should look like in the modern era. The industry faces a choice: adapt or risk alienating the very audiences that could keep the sport alive. Jake and Mike may be out, but they've left an undeniable mark. And honestly, who wouldn't want to watch what they do next? Boxing is no stranger to controversy. From questionable judging decisions to promotional rivalries, the sport has always thrived on drama. But the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fiasco has taken things to a new level. It raises a fundamental question: can boxing survive the blending of sport and spectacle? The reality is that boxing's traditional fan base is shrinking. The younger generation craves more than just technical skill. They want entertainment. Jake Paul understood this and capitalized on it. His flashy social media presence, trash-talking, and extravagant promotions brought a new audience to the sport. But in doing so, he also alienated purists who see boxing as an art form. By involving Mike Tyson, a name synonymous with boxing's golden era, Jake attempted to bridge the gap between old and new. Instead, he widened it. Mike's role in this debacle is more perplexing. As someone who once stood at the pinnacle of the sport, his involvement in a scripted fight feels like a betrayal of his own legacy. Mike Tyson wasn't just a boxer. He was a symbol of raw, unfiltered aggression. Fans didn't watch him fight for showmanship. They watched for the sheer thrill of his power and unpredictability. By aligning himself with Jake Paul, Mike tarnished not just his own reputation, but also the sport he once defined. The backlash from this scandal has been severe. Social media platforms are flooded with comments from disillusioned fans. Some are calling for stricter regulations in boxing to prevent similar incidents. Others are questioning whether Jake Paul and Mike Tyson should ever be allowed near a ring again. But perhaps the most significant fallout is the erosion of trust. Fans who bet money, invested time, and emotionally connected with the sport feel cheated. Rebuilding that trust won't be easy. Despite their current predicament, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson remain influential figures. Jake's ability to draw attention is unparalleled. Whether he's boxing, making YouTube videos, or teasing an MMA debut, people watch. Mike, on the other hand, has a legacy that transcends the sport. Even after this scandal, his name carries weight. The question is, how will they use their influence moving forward? Jake seems determined to pivot to MMA. His partnership with the PFL indicates a willingness to adapt and explore new challenges. If he takes the sport seriously, he might win back some respect, but given his track record, skepticism is warranted. As for Mike, his future in boxing appears uncertain. However, his ventures outside the ring, whether in cannabis, entertainment, or philanthropy, offer opportunities to rebuild his image. The boxing world now faces a crossroads. Will it continue to embrace spectacle at the cost of its integrity, or will it return to its roots and prioritize competition and authenticity? Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have forced the industry to confront these questions. Their actions, while controversial, have ignited a debate that could shape the future of the sport. In the end, boxing is resilient. It has survived scandals, rivalries, and the test of time. While the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson saga has left a stain, it has also highlighted the sport's enduring appeal. People care about boxing enough to be outraged, to debate, and to demand better. That passion is what will keep the sport alive. For Jake and Mike, the road ahead is uncertain. They've been blacklisted, criticized, and, in many ways, written off. But their influence is undeniable. Whether they're viewed as villains or visionaries, one thing is clear. They've left an indelible mark on boxing's history. What are your thoughts on this scandal? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more updates and discussions on the latest in boxing and sports controversies.